All right, here we go. Special Friday afternoon edition of the Nightcap. And these have been popping up a little bit more. This is 2 Fridays in a row. We had Wes Miller last night. If you didn't check that out, make sure you head to the live section and you will see our interview with Wes Miller from last night. Getting an early look at things heading into the season. But today, even bigger news. 4-star, top 40 national player Tyler Betsey from St. Thomas More in Connecticut has picked Cincinnati over his finalists of UConn and Alabama, Duke, Indiana. Some others were also recruiting Betsey, but as it comes down to it, he picked the Bearcats. Before we get going, this show is, as always, brought to you by our good friends at Galactic Fried Chicken, www.friedchicken.com. Download the app for Android, iPhone, everything Galactic. It will bring it right to your front door, pretty much anywhere inside the 275 loop. Or you can go down to Dayton, Kentucky, tell them to pump it up, save yourself 15% off your order. Hi, Aaron.
Hi, sorry, I'm experiencing technical difficulties with my phone trying to put this tweet out.
It's complicated here in this world.
Yep.
I am trying to keep up with my mentions on X right now, Twix right now, and it's like a slot machine. So we're having fun. The big news of the day, like I said, good one, Ed. Tyler Betsey commits. As many know, Aaron's going to put Ed in timeout. That's how that works. As many know, Cincinnati has been recruiting Tyler Betsey for a while now. They did have a bit of an in here as former Bearcat Kane Broom was one of the guys to coach him at St. Thomas More. And just great job done by Wes Miller and Chad Dollar to get this thing across the finish line against some heavy hitters. And this is a big one for Wes, Aaron.
Yeah, it's the third highest recruit ever in the history of Cincinnati. That's kind of a big deal. Obviously, the highest by Wes Miller, ahead of Rayvon Griffith, who was the highest going into this season. But I think, what is it? Lance Stevenson and Jermaine
Lawrence, yeah.
Lawrence, the only higher recruits ever at Cincinnati. So that's
in the rankings era.
Sure. I can only go by the stats that I'm given.
I know. I'm just saying, in the rankings era.
Yeah. Which began what?
Like 2003, something like that, 2004, okay. Somewhere in that world.
At least puts it in perspective.
Yeah. Through all of the, from the end of the Huggins era all the way through the Mick Cronin era to now, the third highest rated recruit for the program.
I'll tell you what, kid looks good in red and black. Just the pictures that he's posted of him in the varsity jacket, the pictures I've seen of him in the jersey combo.
Yeah, emotional announcement. It's the got not a lot emotional, talking about his mom and his path to get here and thanking his coaches. But yeah, I mean, really good stuff. As far as his game, I did get to see him quite a bit. Not quite a bit, but I did watch him multiple times this spring into the summer. Really good positional size at 6'8" as they stretch forward. Can really shoot the ball. And that is, in today's game, you got to have those guys that can stretch the floor. It helps if you can get one that you're not giving up size for, because a lot of times with stretch fours, like that's the knock, is you're going down to a 6'5" or 6'6" guy, and you're playing small to get the extra shooting on the floor. With Betsey, it's a legit 6'8". You can use him as a 4. He can guard a 4, moves well. Should be a good, switch defender that can switch off and handle guards. That's not going to be a liability where, teams are running pick and roll just to get him and the blender on a guard. So that allows you to do a lot more on defense. His high school game is a little bit different than how he was asked to play in AAU, which at times makes things a little bit more challenging when you're doing the scouting. His AAU team essentially just asked him kind of be a spot shooter, know how to move without the ball, know how to locate and relocate, but be ready to catch and fire at any given time. He played off the bounce and was a little bit more active offensively at the high school level, which is a good sign. I do not think, if you go back to a Gary Clark, I told people for 5 years, Gary Clark is a 4. It's not a 3. He's never going to be a 3. He's a 4.
He was a 3 in the NBA.
In college, he was never going to be a 3.
Well, you said never.
Well, for my purposes, I really was in the NBA. But this is a guy that, as he develops, does have some ability to grow into playing minutes at 3, which then you get the ultimate, which is a jumbo small forward at 8 that can shoot and play off the bounce. And then you look at the teams that win national championships or go to the Final Four, those teams have that guy on their roster that just causes nightmares for opposing defense. But right now, he's a stretch 4, but there is some development in his game to where I think you could potentially, as he develops, get him minutes at the 3 down the road, long term, while he's at Cincinnati. But and the thing is, Aaron, though, to your point, if he's going to play in the NBA, he's going to stretch 4s in the NBA are 7'1" now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So 6'8", you got to play the 3.
Unless you're Victor Wembanyama, and then you're even taller.
Yeah, then you're 7'5", and you're playing the 3 and the 4. Yeah,
insane.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, getting him from Connecticut, and as UConn was recruiting him, getting him above both Connecticut and Alabama amongst his 20 plus, 25 plus other suitors, including Indiana, plenty of high programs on his list of offers. But big get. He's, according to 24/7, the number 9 power forward in the country. According to the composite, the number 7 power forward in the country. I don't know, a top 40 kid, according to the composite, number 32.
There are some places that still have him in 5-star range, top 25.
So it just depends on how you feel about him. Yeah.
Yeah. Some questions. How is he going to pair with Tyler McKinley? Right now, I don't know that you would necessarily play them together yet. Although I think, you could probably buy some time with McKinley at the 5 and Betsey at the 4, and kind of I don't want to say smaller, because McKinley's 6'9", Betsey's 6'8". That's not tiny, but it's not, the 7-foot rim protector
right
type set that Les Miller is focusing on. The thing is, they complement each other. I got the hiccups. Stupid Mountain Dew getting to me. I didn't think Mountain Dew was going to give me the hiccups.
Yeah, well.
But anyhow, they complement each other well in terms of you get a different look when you sub them out for each other. McKinley is more of like a, I don't know,
Unreal. McKinley being more of the guy who's going to play down low, whereas Betsey's going to be more of a shooter.
McKinley is kind of like, and Tyler can shoot, but he's a lot of like mid post. He can pass it really well, can put it on the floor and get to the rim, but he's more of a, I don't want to say traditional four because he's not a back to the basket like, throw it to him and clear out. He's going to get you a bucket.
Yeah.
But they do a lot of different things. Like the way that they play is not similar. And especially at that four position where you can create mismatches, I love being able to sub guys out that are a little bit different because you can throw teams off balance. Their game planning or their defensive breakdown says stop this, and then when the other guy comes in, you've got to completely kind of change how you're guarding that position and what you're trying to do defensively. So I do like that. As of right now, you're getting two top 75, top 50 type players that complement each other in terms of, when one goes in or one comes out. But then potentially as Betsey develops, like I said, if you could get the two of them playing together at the 3 and the 4 and playing off of each other in ball screens and, use them one to set up the other, using Tyler McKinley's passing to set up Tyler Betsey on the wing, then you're in pretty good shape. First time in 16 years, they've stacked top 100 guys in back-to-back classes.
Imagine how fast the lineup would be if you had, Jizzle, Dan, Ray, then Tyler and Tyler. Ooh.
Yeah, the thing about that I think that jumps out at me more than speed is positional size and length. Jizzle's not a big kid, but he's long. And then Dan, super long. Ray's got good size at 6'7" and good length. Tyler at 6'8" has good size and length. Betsey, and then McKinley. That's the only thing I would like talking about Tyler McKinley at the 5. He's not super long. Like he's not one of those guys that has a 7'3" wingspan. His wingspan's normal, which in this day and age, oh my God, he's got short arms because his wingspan isn't ridiculous. But
he's not an alien.
Right. He's just a regular Cincinnatian. Does this make a difference when it comes to Tyler Perry? No, not really. Or Travis Perry? No,
Tyler
not really.
Perry's
I don't.
Medea.
That's a different thing.
Hello.
Different genre. It's outside of the basketball world. Travis Perry, no. I'm sure he's dealt with that his entire life. But no, I don't think it's going to change much. That's Cincinnati's going to have to go win that recruitment. I think probably UC and Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Ole Miss. I think it's Ole Miss. Battling for that one. He visits in a couple weeks. I think it's for the Baylor game, if I'm not mistaken. But no, I don't think this. I mean, other than look, guards want to play with talent. They want to have guys they can pass the ball to that are going to score and make them look good, and guys that are going to create space. And Tyler Betsey would create space for a scoring guard like Travis Perry. So I don't even know if they know each other. They played on different circuits. I don't know if they would have crossed paths at all. But I mean, let's not rule out Cincinnati's also still in the mix for Jace Richardson, who visited officially the same week that Tyler Betsey did. And those two, EYBL, they both are aware of each other. So a lot of good. Would they take Jace and Perry? I mean, I'm sure they would. I don't know that the kids would commit to to the same school. Kind of enter into the redundancy department there. I know everybody always asks that, but that decision is a lot more frequently on the kids than it is on the coaches, because coaches are greedy. They want all the best players. They want to get as many good players as they can get. So most of the time, that answer is yes, they would take both, but that decision comes down to the player, and generally, you don't see many stack on top of each other that are right in that same bracket, kind of, I guess.
Well, as I have to go back and forth between the Big 12 and the American rankings, it looks like Cincinnati currently is sitting at the number 4 spot in the conference, behind Arizona, Kansas, and Baylor at 50.66 points, I believe.
Yep. And they're the only 2 schools that have a 2-player class that are higher are Baylor and Kansas, which, I mean, Kansas went out and grabbed Flory and LeBaron Philon, 2 guys that Cincinnati fans are very familiar with. So I think that's the encouraging thing, though. It's like Wes has missed on some of their top-rated targets, and guess what? They're still landing top-rated targets. Like they're not swimming in that area where you have to dip down into the 120s and the 130s to go find backup plans for when you miss out on your primary guys. They're still swinging with top 50 guys, even though some of the top of their board has gone to blue bloods.
Both of those teams having been to national championships in the last decade as well. So
one national championship, and they didn't just go; they held up the trophy.
They hoisted it. So
they didn't get to look at it; they got to keep it. Take that bad boy home with you. What's his defense look like? Connor asks. Solid defender right now. Obviously, it's high school, so you don't find a ton of guys that are just like lockdown defenders in high school. But the times that I watched him, he moves his feet well. He's not an elite athlete, but he has good lateral movement. He has good length. So some of those things where he's not maybe as bouncy as some guys, he can make up for it with being able to move and being able to be in the right spot. But he's a freshman, he's a senior in high school. But he'll be a freshman at this time next year. Very rarely does anybody come in and just automatically look like a defensive stalwart right out of the gate. Yeah, Corey, this is the crazy part. It's almost shocking to hear them involved with someone outside the top 100 now. Yeah. They've done what I thought a lot of teams would do, is you stick in their like tax bracket, I guess we'll call it. They're sticking with top 75, essentially top 75 guys. And if you miss on that, you roll it into the portal, and you say, what can the portal kind of do to backfill where we missed? The problem with those top 100 guys now, or those guys just outside the top 100, they are almost always going to be developmental, in that it's going to take a year or two for them to adjust and develop and get up to speed. And anymore, if a guy waits 2 years in a program before he's ready to go, he transfers. So you spent 2 years getting somebody ready to go play for somebody else. And instead of doing that, then you just go into the portal and you get that guy that's been developed somewhere else for 2 years, and you bring him into your program, a better player. So that's kind of what's happening with those top 100, like the guys outside the top 100.
I just think it's super exciting that the NIL has allowed it to where a Cincinnati coach walks into a gym and doesn't walk out just because other teams like Duke or Kentucky or other blue bloods are involved in the recruitment. And it's just open doors that weren't otherwise open.
Yeah, it gives you a better shot. Like it keeps you in the mix a little bit longer potentially, and allows you to do things like get a kid here on an official visit. And if you read the story that Travis Branham wrote with quotes from Tyler Betsey, he talked about they hit it out of the park on the visit. In years past, guys would struggle to get to the visit because they would cut their list down, and Cincinnati was in the American, and it's kind of how that plays out. You get kind of left behind before you get the chance to make your pitch. Now you're getting to the finish line, and if you get to the finish line, all you got to do is hit a home run on the visit. Then you can get the kid doing the zipper Superman with his Bearcat shirt, with Kane's Bearcat shirt on.
I was going to say, of course, it doesn't hurt that your head coach is Kane Broom and getting the kid on an official visit and all of that. But
yeah. An example of that, Paul, I'm not going to throw old. There's no point in bringing up old situations and throwing people under the bus. So no. Then we hand them a pamphlet made from Windows 98 on their visit. There was some of that. Mick never adapted to technology as fast as he was. That's a true West Sider, right? You show me how to use this phone. We still got, was that Windows 95? Yeah, that they can do it.
Yeah,
just make a graphic.
Working at the Verizon on the West Side, you can only imagine what I dealt with. People walking in there.
Matt says they must be doing pretty well in NIL. If you walk out of a battle with Bama and UConn and you get the recruit, your NIL doesn't stink. Does that mean it's the greatest NIL on the planet? No. There are others that have bigger budgets, but Cincinnati is not fighting a losing battle. And that's a good sign. That means that West is it's what we talked about with West last night. You can sit around and bitch and moan about the way the game is changing, or you can be progressive and say, all right, well, we just have to deal with it. We got to figure it out. We have to figure out a way to make this work. And I think you have seen this staff from the spring with what we saw in the transfer portal this spring to what we're seeing now in the fall. I think they've got a pretty good grasp on it. Pretty good grasp on it. Questions from anybody else? Big crowd. Thank you all.
I don't know if you addressed this one here. Might be sort of an off-topic question with a lot of former players in the high school coaching ranks. How much communication happens between them and the staff with recruits?
Some. I mean, I know the staff obviously over the past couple of years when those guys have come in for TBT, like they get a chance to hang around and get to know everybody. So this staff knows Kane pretty well. And I know Kane was one that kind of put them on to Tyler Betsey. Hey, I got a guy, like come up, check him out. So that's kind of where it started. Like I don't know that they're talking every day, but I do know that, things are that there's open communication there where if they've got a guy, the former player is going to hit him up and say, hey, come check this out. Come on, we got 100 of you. You guys got to have some questions.
Well, I was just going to say, this is now between Betsey, Jizzle, Tyler McKinley, and Ray. That's 4 of your top 10 all time. With Betsey at 3, Jizzle at 6, McKinley at 7, and Ray at 10.
Can I also point out that those are all since it was announced that Cincinnati was going to the Big 12? For all the people that questioned me for a decade, saying that it didn't matter that they were in the American and they should be able to recruit with the big boys and that kids didn't care. Guess what? Recruiting got a hell of a lot easier the minute you entered into the best conference in America as opposed to the 6th or 7th best conference in America. It matters. Kids want to play against the highest level of competition to show what they can do. Those doors stay open longer when you're recruiting into the Big 12. And we have seen that 4 times now since this has happened.
You also have Dan at 15 and Josh at 23. So altogether, you got 6 of the top 25 in program history.
Yeah. Robert says he really wants Jace, but Travis would make one hell of a class. I agree. I don't think an easy comp is Landers. I think their games are completely different. Even though Landers was a forward, Landers needed the ball in his hand. Like he wanted to create. He wanted to use that pump fake and dribble. He wanted to catch it in the low block and try to post somebody up. Right now, Tyler Betsey is more of he's a catch and shoot guy that can put it on the deck in a closeout or come off a ball screen a little bit, but he doesn't play with the ball in his hands nearly as much as Landers did. So I don't think they're a great comparison. As far as a comparison at UC, I don't know that there's been the shooters for this program have largely been guards, right? Like, yeah, Gary developed it as his time went on. Trey developed it as his time went on. Those 2 kids did not come in with a reputation as a shooter. So I don't know who I would compare him to in terms of like past former Bearcats.
Is there a chance that he is still growing as Robert's bringing
Adam
up?
said that. Finkelstein said that going into the commitment. I don't know. I haven't checked his growth plates, Robert. DeMar was a guard. Like, no, he doesn't compare to DeMar. DeMar was a 2 guard in a 6'9" body. Like, that was a whole different world. I get the comparison, Tyler. I know why it's easy for people to make. They're both Landers is smaller. Landers is 6'7", 6'6", 6'7", where Tyler's 6'8". But yeah, they're both bigger guys that shoot it really well. What's going on, Jason? Yeah, Penny was cheating. Like the NCAA is investigating him for cheating. That's how. Yeah. Aaron, how do Tyler's ankles look? Skinny. They're too skinny for you, aren't they?
He's I don't know. I feel like every time they have a picture of him, it's pretty much from the waist up. So
he's got to work on that. Ray Felt's got to get that ankle strength knocked up a notch for sure.
Not an ankle guy anyway. I like when they have thick calves. That's what I'm looking for, because I have skinny little calves. Need to have calves bigger than mine.
Oh, that's great. I love it. And Keegan has now talked to Tyler.
So I'll be looking for
the story's up.
Drop.
The story is up. So maybe see if we can get him on to get his takeaway from talking to him.
Well, tell him he's got an invite.
Okay.
If he decides to take it, cool. If not, cool. Either way.
Busy day. Here
Yeah.
at the Bearcat Journal.
No, Trilly Donovan has not been unmasked, and I don't foresee that changing anytime soon, Daniel. Thank you to Richard. That's a new feature. I didn't see that they've shown how long they've been members for, but we do appreciate.
Yeah, we talked about it, Richard. That it's unlikely due to the kid. Like, you've already got, especially when you're looking at for next year, you'll have Davion Thomas and Jizzle James already in the program. Like, if you get both, now you're looking at 4 of those in the program. So the kids usually don't want to jump into that situation. Are they going to go after any more bigs? Dominic, that a lot of that is going to come down to what happens on the waiver situation, who they anticipate will be around for next year. As it stands right now, I don't think that they will, but just leave him in there. With his goofy little faces he's making sitting in the lobby. I don't think so for right now, but if they did, probably would be transfer portal in the spring once they knew more of what things look like. Here's Keegan Nickerson. Hi, buddy.
What's up?
I thought we were going to get you live from like a school where you were substitute teaching today, like a classroom.
No, I'll tell you what. I had to post all my stuff as the day was ending.
No, instead he's in his normal Dexter kill room.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm back in safety.
Where he can touch both walls if he just did this.
And the ceiling.
I'm not far. I'm not far off being able to do that.
He lives in a room that is the length of his wingspan. Jane Quaintance is no longer considering Cincinnati, so wherever he goes, it won't be here. I don't think there was ever really a mutual match in that one. That's why I kept saying it was complicated. My guess is he ends up in the G League, but that's just my read on the situation. Marcus is drinking Cincy Lights at 4. That sounds like a great idea. I'll send my 13-year-old over to your house and I'll start drinking Cincy Lights.
Did you see the video Coach Dollar just posted on Twitter?
No.
10 minutes ago. It's him on the phone dancing. Someone got a video of him on the phone dancing during practice. Because Tyler called him and told him.
That's outstanding. That is outstanding. So you had the chance to talk to Tyler.
Yes.
What did you take away?
Well, what I took away, he seems really excited. He told me when he talked to Coach West was super excited, and as you see on Chad Dollar's Twitter, he's also very excited. But the phone call was awesome. Shout out to former Bearcat Kane Broom lining that up. That was awesome. But I'll tell you, the kid had tears streaming down his face talking about his parents and the announcement. I've never seen anything like that in my long, illustrious career of covering high school basketball. So I thought that was a really, really good sign to see just about the character of the kid and who he is as a person. But you have to be excited if you're a UC fan.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree.
So my commitment story is updated on the site with quotes from Tyler. Go and read that. So yeah.
Any other shameless plugs you want to drop?
Yeah, anything else?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm plugging your site.
I pay you to do it. Not much, but I do.
Oh,
Tyler said he feels like this adds pressure to Josh Reed. Two guys highly touted, recruited behind you. Time to ratchet it up. Yep, this is what having a Big 12 program is like. There is constantly going to be talent added to the roster that is going to put pressure on guys that are here and in the development stages. Because guess what? You're going to have to be ahead of where they come in at. And that'll help you get on the floor, and then they have to beat you out. So that's what you want. This is still going to be a developmental program. It is still going to be veterans at the top and younger guys working their way up the ladder, just because they're not getting, top 5 guaranteed NBA guys. And get old, stay old. Like that's how you win in the Big 12. Don't see a lot of teams with a whole bunch of freshmen winning in this league. So yeah, that puts pressure on Josh. That's a good thing.
Yeah, that's kind of college
Dan
athletics as a
everything.
whole.
Right.
I mean, that's why people recruit multiple quarterbacks in the same class and a quarterback a year younger. So there's always competition at the best programs.
And if you're going to win in the Big 12, you got to have dudes like this.
Yeah, depth.
You have to.
Yeah.
Have to. Do I think go ahead.
I did the 247 calculator, and this puts them high. Yeah, but if they get one of Jace Richardson or Travis Perry, I think they move into the top 5 nationally. But
which would be a big statement for Wes Miller heading into year 1.
And obviously, there's still some guys out there, the Cooper Flaggs and Liam McNeely's who will have to balance some of that out. But as we're getting late in this process, that puts UC in a good spot regardless.
Extend Wes again.
Do you think the photo shoot rule will actually affect recruiting? It will affect recruiting because I think there will be less unofficial visits.
What is that rule?
You can't do photo shoots on unofficial visits anymore.
Why?
Because they don't want to.
It was a huge waste of time as far as football went when there were all the guys coming in on unofficials.
Yeah, you'd have 25 guys come in and you'd have to stop your day and do 25 different photo shoots. Like for official visits, it's still allowed, which that's okay. You make it to your official visit. You're serious about the school is serious about you, and you get a photo shoot.
Yeah, okay. I guess
every Tom, Dick, and Harry stopping by campus shouldn't get the full photo shoot treatment. Just saying, that should be. You don't like what was so funny? Like Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Calling 3-star recruits Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Well, but when it's in numbers like that, like there's better ways to spend your time on an official visit than to have 3 hours of running people through photo shoots.
Yeah.
You went full dazed and confused. Oh man. Why was doing that shit?
He doesn't even get that.
Gonna be rough with 2 Tylers.
Yeah, you deal with your boy. You deal with him.
Oh God,
gets it. Hunter, thank you for the giant donation here. We're so back. Wes Miller will bring us to the Final Four. Book it. I guess that's what the effing was. Final Four.
Yeah.
And I did there.
I see what you did there. Just top 70 kids. Wes, yeah.
We're talking football. They're not bringing 25 guys in on a camp for basketball.
Yeah. Keegan, Wes doesn't do 3-star recruits, buddy.
His first 2 recruits were, but
just top 70 kids. Yeah, he was recruiting to the American Athletic Conference. That's what happens. That's what happens. Any more questions, gentlemen?
I have a question.
You'd like to add? Okay.
Dan was a 4-star.
He was?
I'm looking at it. Number 15 overall.
In the country?
Not number 15 in the country.
No, 15 overall in Cincinnati's history. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Which it has to relate to that. Someone replied to my story in the board saying he wasn't the 3rd highest recruit in program history, but just in the 247 era. So who would have been rated higher than Lance Stevenson in program history?
DeMar was. Kenny Satterfield was close. And Tom, thank you. Appreciate you, brother.
Tom.
It gets difficult going back because there weren't really like a consensus. There was like 4 or 5 guys that did like newsletters, and like you would actually get a paper mailed to your house that had like, here's this guy's Clark Francis's top 50. So there isn't really anything to like easily refer to. But Damon Flint was way up there. I believe Fortson was highly rated in some places. But I mean, the names that you know. I don't know. I don't even know where to like look and find some of this stuff.
I don't either.
Whatever. But yeah, those are some names that would be in that general vicinity. But yeah, DeMar was way up there.
Gotcha.
All
right. Wingfield was top. Yeah, Wingfield was way up there. Sat was top 25. Sat was a 5-star. But yeah, those are the names.
There was a question earlier. Here it is. What's your opinion? We didn't get a chance to speak on this, and this might be the best spot for us to speak on this week, Chad. What is your opinion on the Big 12 maybe moving to 20 games?
Love it.
I think that all of the big conferences that are pushing to 20 teams are going to have to do this. And even once conferences get to 20 teams, I think they might have to expand it even beyond 20 games. Otherwise, you're going to run into we're only playing every team once and then one team twice. That doesn't make any sense.
At 20, you're playing, what did we say it was? 5 teams twice and then 10 teams once.
If you're at 16, but if you're the Big 10 who has 20 teams now,
yeah.
What do you do? At 16 games, you're not playing everybody in your conference. At 20 games, you're playing every team once and one team twice, unless you break up basketball into divisions. Then you're back there again.
You could do pods. Pods are always possible. I don't know. It's above my pay grade.
Give me more conference games and less cupcake.
What was Yancey's ranking? He was high 4-star. There were a couple places, 1 or 2 places, I think, that had him right in that kind of 5-star range. And then a couple others that kind of bought into the Yancey doesn't have a high motor camp, which, unless Kenny Freeze is coming at him, his motor didn't always run super high. But when Kenny was in the vicinity, that right cross had good velocity.
Yancey was a .9822 on the composite. Betsey was a .9875.
Yeah. Yancey dropped a couple places, like right around the 50s, after his final summer, like in those final rankings. So he was up there around 5-star at a couple places. Yeah. But all this is, still, he committed to Cincinnati, so everybody thinks Tyler Betsey will drop 30 spots now anyway.
Are they going to do another? Is there another ranking like after they're all committed? Okay.
They'll do a ranking like towards the end of the high school season, and then they'll do a final one like after the summer all-star, McDonald's game, all that good stuff. Spring. Usually the final one goes up like late spring, early summer.
Mm-hmm.
It was more of a cross. I think it was more of a cross. I don't think it was a hook. I think it was tight. I think it was pretty tight to the body. But he long arms, so maybe it looked like a hook, even though it wasn't a traditional hook. The acquaintance thing has nothing to do with Cincinnati's roster. I've tried to talk in code on that one as much as I could, but these roster spots is not what he's looking at in terms of what is controlling his recruitment. But yeah, like you're the good luck charm, right, Keegan? Like you came in and now it's, Wes has got it rolling.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Hey, rivals forecast Ravon. That got me in everyone's good graces.
Yeah, you just took a bunch of information from me on the road and put it in. I think that was the first thing you asked me. They going to get Ravon?
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think? What else am I going to ask you?
Yeah, that's the first time he met me, Aaron. That's the first thing he asked me, and then he put in a rivals forecast for Ravon over top of me.
No, this is the first thing because I remember it. I said, and everyone's going to think this is funny. I said, is there actually a QB competition? Prater has it locked down, doesn't he?
That was yeah. Yep. And I laughed at you.
No, you looked at me with your look that you do, and you went, yeah, there's a QB competition. Oh, gosh.
I should have probably just crossed him off the list right then, shouldn't I, Aaron?
I'm not partaking in any of this conversation.
And then he said, so they're going to get Ravon? Like, he was peppering me up the minute he talked to me.
Hey, Coach, can I have your phone number?
The funny thing is now, because I didn't realize what that stuff did, but now that I know what the boards look like at BCJ, I know there was probably a whole thread labeled "Who is Keegan Nickerson?" And then
if it wasn't, there was an ongoing conversation about who you were, and I was probably like, nobody. Don't worry. He got his information from me. Don't pay no attention to the man at the Indiana Rivals site. Kids.
Oh gosh.
He's not so. And Tucker says Betsey looks like a Nolly Eason hybrid physically. Needs to rebound better though. I don't think he is. Eason didn't look like a really bouncy athlete, but he was. Like, he would explode on you and you'd be like, whoa. Like, I didn't think he had that kind of bounce.
Eason?
Yeah, Tari.
Well, I thought Rob Banks was better than him.
Somebody else did too, but
I did not think he was better than him.
Rob some Banks.
Banksy.
But I don't think that's terrible, Tucker. But I just think Easton was a little bit more vertical, a little bit more bouncy. All right. Anybody else? Calm down, Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Banks better than Easton. Don't fight it. Yeah, the Mizzou emergence in recruiting is interesting on the basketball side. Now, Dennis Gates does have some contacts and has put together a good staff that has connections. That's part of the reason why they're probably the main college. Like if Jaden Quaintance goes to college, he's got a connection to Mizzou through his dad. That one of their assistants and his dad were teammates. So that one could, but yeah, they're doing a great job putting a heck of a class together. All right.
Well, I was good for a half hour. Yeah, I got baseball game to get to for the 8-year-old.
All right. You want to hang around and see if there's any more questions, Keegan?
I'd love to.
See you guys.
Aaron,
thank you.
You have a great weekend. We'll talk, I don't know, Sunday.
Sunday.
We can
Recapping
take
Big
tomorrow.
12.
Let's take tomorrow off.
Sounds great.
All right. You take tomorrow off, buddy.
All right.
I'm here for you. It's the type of boss I am.
See you guys.
Oh,
Jeez,
gosh.
just trying to give him a day off. Yeah, those were all names that were involved. Jerome Tang, Dennis Gates, Wes, Ryan Peden, who's still at Ohio. He's still at Ohio State, or did he get a job?
I'd never heard of him until we talked about him the other day.
Oh, he's the head coach at Illinois State. Yeah. How would I rank Wes Miller's recruiting job at UC so far? A. I mean, I've always talked like I think the key to being long-term successful in this sport is landing 2 top 75 level kids every recruiting class. And you just keep stacking them. And obviously the transfer portal changes the math some, but I still think, if you go that route, on your roster at all times should be a minimum 6, 7 top 75 type kids. I think that's how you win big at this level.
Yeah, and I mean, he's swinging so high that you're going to end up having success when you go at all the top guys. So you get McKinley, you get Betsey, you're in on Jace Richardson, you're in on Travis Perry, and then in 2025, Jasper Johnson, he made him a top priority. So they're consistently in on top 50 players. So
that's good. Sadiq White that visited top 50 player. Yeah. Jalen Reese, top 75 level player from down in Florida that was here. Yeah. Did Cincy like NIL money? Not really. Like, I don't think that is a thing yet. I don't think those checks have been cut. I think West just has a really good handle on NIL and how to fund the basketball program through their NIL efforts. I think recruiting style and personal approach helped out with this one. But look, it's Bama and UConn. NIL is going to be a factor. If you don't come correct, they're going to get you. So, you got to be good in NIL now. Like in the portal, in recruiting top high-level kids, top 40 type kids, top 75 type kids. Your NIL game better be on point or they're going to go somewhere that is. Because you are worth what someone will pay you. And that is a pretty tried and true rule. Wes getting his first 5-star next year. That would be delightful. Jasper Johnson is special.
I mean, it's all gonna, if they can have a really good year this year, and it looks like Jizzle is gonna get some run at point guard. So yeah. if he can show that he can develop a young point guard and give him action early, that just shouts very, very loud at these guys.
Do you think get old, stay old still possible with the transfer portal? It's actually it's different, but it's more likely because that's what teams are going to do. They're just not going to have young players on their roster. They're going to go out and get sophomores, juniors, and seniors out of the transfer portal and build their roster of guys that are old. Like when they get there, they're old. So yeah, get old, stay old is still very much a thing. I think everything we know about Wes says he wants to recruit and develop. He's very loyal to his guys. We have not seen a mass exodus of transfers from the top of the roster. So I think that'll still be a big part of his plan. And then you supplement it with going and getting, veteran guys with a little bit of seasoning to them from the transfer portal. I haven't gotten a text from Danny yet.
He still hasn't lost anyone that he recruited, right? No one that he recruited has left.
Well, I mean the UNCG guys did
Okay.
that he brought with him. Jared Hensley and crap. I forget the other guy that didn't play much.
McGinnis.
Yeah,
Yeah, like Caleb McGinnis, I think.
no, wasn't Caleb.
AJ.
I think when I think of it was AJ. When I think of McGinnis, I think of Jeff that played at North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
One of the great high school games I've ever seen. Jeff McGinnis played at Holmes High School with Oak Hill Academy, and he must have hit 17 pull up set like 18, 19 footers. He scored like 37. It was a great game. It was one of the best high school basketball games I've ever seen. But I think they had Stackhouse, I think, was on that team.
Ooh, that'll do it.
And Holmes was doing everything they could to, slow down Stackhouse, and McGinnis was just it was a good one. All right. Well, we're still at 100. Like, if you guys are going to hang out, I'll sit here all afternoon, late afternoon. But we're going to need questions. We're going to need talk. Like, what have you seen when you watch tape of Tyler Betsey? I know you're a dude that watch the film guy.
I think he looks like someone who should have like an inside game and constantly be in the paint. But he's so confident from three. Like, that's very clearly his game. He moves very fluid and he's very good in transition. So, I mean, he's 6'8". So a guy that's 6'8" that can be your spot up shooter is yes, please. Like that's basically how Wes Miller recruited him. That's how everyone probably looked at him.
Any idea when Jace or Travis plan to commit within the next month?
I know Jace said late October, but he will push it back if necessary. I'm not sure on Travis.
So I would guess Travis Perry will take the Cincinnati visit and then kind of go into decision mode. That would be unless Kentucky, all of a sudden changes their approach to recruiting him.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think we'll see more NIL-based games like against Dayton in the future? Yeah, I do. Because I think teams are going to say we want to supplement NIL in any way possible. And if you can get a third party and get a portion of the proceeds and work your way in there to where, I don't know, even if it's an extra 50,000, 100,000 that you can get from doing a deal like that, you're going to do it as often as you can if you can bolster your NIL, because it could mean a transfer in the spring.
That could put you over the edge for a 5-star.
Or it could just, if you, like, let's say I don't think.
Yeah. I love that filter. The live filter.
Yeah. There's a guy that's like a $75,000-$100,000 transfer. Like, the top transfers are getting $500,000.
Yeah. Hunter Dickinson.
Like, let's say there's a guy that's, Hunter Dickinson apparently got like $2 million, but that's because Kansas doesn't care. They just give him 2. That's fine. But if there's a guy you're looking at that you can get for that 75,000-100,000 range, like if your NIL game can pay for that, do it. That's one less booster you have to call and try to get something done, or however that works. I don't know.
Yeah, but it'd also be interesting if you see players on the roster enter the portal just to leverage offers and get more from the school that you're.
It's happening already. Already. Well, because what's happening, new recruits and transfers are getting signing bonuses, and the guys that are currently on the roster are like, "Hey, I want a signing bonus. What about me?"
Like, when can they like deposit the money in their account? I was just I didn't know if you knew the rules.
The less I know, the better.
Okay.
Sometimes it's just better not to ask some questions. I just like sausage. I don't need to watch you make sausage. I just want to cut it up at breakfast and eat it.
Minutes breakdown.
Hold on. Crazy for thinking Skilling should start this year.
No.
I think it's possible. I do think there's a world where you'll see him go a little bit older and Dan could be the sixth man or be like that first wing off the bench. But a lot of that, again, depends on the waivers, because if you have Aziz and or Jamil, now you're starting Vic at the 4, and that pushes everything up, and you're starting a point guard. So now you've only got the 2 and the 3. And you've got CJ Frederick, you've got John Newman, you've got Simas Lukosius, you've got Dan. Like, then it gets a little crowded. You got 4 or 5 guys for 2 spots. So
hey, I don't think
I think he's good enough to start.
Yeah, that's basically what I was going to say. I don't think he will start, but if he walked out there in the starting 5 in the first game of the year, I wouldn't be at all shocked, and I wouldn't be thinking that he didn't deserve to.
I don't know that this is true, Corey, but the sentiment is right. One of the reasons we didn't land Collier is because of the lack of other recruits like this. Betsey will help remove that knock on Wes. I mean, that last sentence is true. The reason they didn't land Collier is because his mom wanted him to go to LA. If it wasn't for that, Isaiah Collier would have been a Bearcat, but close only counts in hand grenades and horseshoes. Minutes breakdown at point guard this season. How quickly does Jizzle adjust? Because that changes that question. Right now, I think I would go, and I'll get your opinion on this as well. I think I'd go
I want
more
you to
like
answer first.
23-17, 25-15 day, like as the season starts. Because I think Jizzle right now is, one, a little turnover prone. Like everything is still moving really fast for him at times. Probably more in like day 23 minutes, Jizzle 17 minutes, but that could easily change if Jizzle continues to like figure out the things the game slows down for him.
Yeah, I think 25-15, maybe 28-12. But
I mean, that.
Well,
the other thing is, and we saw this Tuesday at the scrimmage, they ran one of the 12-minute segments with them together.
Yeah. Practicing going small.
Yeah. Well, not even that, but you just get – I love 2-point guards on the floor. I'm a 2-point guard guy. Especially if they're both dynamic and can attack like that. It just puts so much pressure on the defense as the ball moves side to side. If you've got a guy that from either side can get to the lane and collapse the defense.
So one game of Kashmir Wright and Troy Copain, and you're saying I'm hooked.
No, not necessarily. But I like it. If one of them turns out to be a plus shooter, like 37% and up, you can play the 2 of them together a good deal and really give teams. Because then no matter where the rebound comes, the outlet pass is flying to the rim.
I
like that.
That dagger 3 in that scrimmage from Jizzle was a big play on some level shot. It was a high level shot, and just to have the guts to take that, because if you miss and they go down and whatever happens, you're getting reamed by Wes Miller. So I think that says a lot about the player he is.
Do you think the shootout will ever turn into an NIL deal game? I mean, I'll never say never. They'd have to figure out a way to do it on campus. And the reason I don't think it will is because you'd have to turn it over to a third party. And I don't know that either school wants the shootout in somebody else, like the management of the shootout in somebody else's hands.
Yeah.
So
one thing has to come out about whoever's running it liking either side, and then it's a money issue.
Yeah. So I don't think so, but I'll never say never. Interesting. Thanks, Spencer. Bama was pitching Brandon Miller to Betsey. Do I see that comp at all? Brandon Miller was so elite.
Good.
Like just it's a stretch. It's a stretch because Miller he could play with the ball in his hands. Like he could get downhill. Like he just had more to his game than Betsey does at this stage.
I think he's probably quicker right now. But I
Brandon Miller?
think
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think someone pointed out that it was on the board. Someone pointed out that Tyler could work on his explosiveness, but Ray felt like that's his specialty is developing explosiveness in his athletes. So whoever put that on the board is very good.
MW2 Top G, stronger good vibe of basketball than football. West seems to be hitting well in basketball in the Big 12. Feels like it can be very strong. That's interesting. Football has a better chance to win in the Big 12 because there's not especially when Texas and Oklahoma leave, there's not a power at the top of the league. Like teams just kind of roller coaster, good year, on the way up, good, decent year, then a really good year, and then they go back down. There's nobody that's sitting there like Oklahoma did for 15 years or whatever it was. Basketball in the Big 12 is a monster.
Yeah.
A monster.
I guess it's going to be who can upset Kansas.
Yeah, but I mean, Baylor is right there. They just won a national championship. Kansas State is hot right now. I mean, you go down the list, man. And then Arizona coming into the league. There's a lot of bodies to jump in the Big 12 basketball, a lot more than there is in football. But I'm a basketball guy, so I think you are too, aren't you?
I graduated from Indiana. I have to be.
Oh yeah, you don't even know that football it's
Who's
just
their coach
an
again?
Annoyance.
What's his buyout? Who knows?
It's an annoyance until Hoosier hysteria in mid-October.
It really is. Like I walking into that stadium every Saturday was kind of tough.
Any interest in Talon Kinney? They'll look at him. Yeah, I mean, it's 2026.
I don't even know who
they're aware of him. Any update on the kid from Erlanger Lloyd? Nobody that goes to Lloyd is worth a shit.
We were doing so good.
I went to Lloyd. That was a shot at me.
Okay.
That was a shot at me.
Okay.
EJ Walker from Lloyd in 2025. He's gonna have to pick it up. He didn't have a great summer. So he's kind of fallen down a lot of high major boards. So he'll have to have a big spring and summer to jump back up. Does the Tez Walker situation change your opinion on waivers? I like seeing the threat of legal action. That all of a sudden, new information. Yeah, the new information is the Attorney General for the state of North Carolina is on the line and would like to speak to you. Well, that's not what it seems, sir. What had happened was we read that right. The section A14, Article 3.
It's actually your fault if you would have done it right. When you think about it.
Right. Aziz and claiming mental health for their waivers. I'm not getting into that. That is I understand asking, but we're not going down there. Best defender. If Aziz is eligible, Aziz is a top 5 defender in the country because of what he can do protecting the rim.
Lockdown. Would you classify rim?
John Newman?
I was going to say Davion Thomas. Based on
John Newman has been a lockdown defender for 4 years in college. Just the knee injury has limited him. But if healthy, it's John Newman. Who on the team will have the best post-dunk mean mug? He needs
Jamil
Keegan's
Reynolds.
answer. Reynolds does have a little.
Yeah. The beard.
It's not quite the Justin Jackson mean face, but.
Plus, Aziz is like, I think Aziz is a genuinely good and nice person. Like he's typically joyful. Like he's
Are you
always got a
saying
smile
that
on his face.
Jamil's not a good and nice person?
I'm saying Jamil, when he gets on the floor, probably wants to like hurt somebody. So
he does. Here we go. This is great. Keegan, you don't have a shrine of Micah McFadden in your home?
Okay. Two things true at the same time. One, it was targeting. He should have been ejected. Two, Micah McFadden was a damn good football player, and he was a joy to cover that one season I got to cover him on one of the worst teams I've ever watched.
True or false? Tom Allen allowed Micah McFadden to sit at the Thanksgiving dinner table and made his son go to the kids' table.
Get to background, leave studio.
Oh.
Some say Heisman worthy.
John Newman or Rashad Bishop? Rashad Bishop. That dude, John Newman can show it in the Big East this year, or the Big 12 this year. But Rashad Bishop for 4 years was pointed in the direction of whatever elite scorer was playing for UConn or Syracuse or Villanova or Pitt or whatever, and was told to shut them down, and he did.
What year was that? I don't remember him. I don't.
The problem, people, is I know the answer as to why he doesn't remember him. And it's because in 2007, he was in diapers.
I remember Lance Stevenson. That was the first memory of Cincinnati basketball. Before that,
Rashad played with Lance.
Okay. I only remember Lance Stevenson. That's the issue. Bye, Keegan. Bye.
Rashad came in and mixed first, full recruiting class that wasn't the JUCO class. So Rashad Bishop, Darnell Wilkes, Biggie McLean,
Darnell Wilkes, yeah.
Larry Davis, Alvin Mitchell. That was 2007, I believe.
I remember Wilkes now. He was in the dunk contest.
Neil, that's the question there. Who was the better defender, Rashad Bishop or IMAC? They were both elite. They were both, I would say, their senior years, they were both each the best perimeter defender in the country in that particular season. Rashad played one season after Lance. Rashad was on the first NCAA tournament team, which was a season after Lance spent his 1 year on campus. So yeah, you would have watched 2 seasons of Rashad Bishop, but he was never. I mean, he was like a 8, 9, 10 point a game guy, but his job was they're not scoring. Whoever it is, put Rashad on them, and they're not scoring. And he used to rip cigarettes before each game. And when he came out and sat on the bench and went back into the game, nobody wanted to sit in his chair because it smelled like Hennessy sweat.
Should get him on the podcast to tell some stories.
Oh, Capo would have some stories. Keegan, who's the best walk-on in Bearcat history? There's a correct answer, and he's a friend of Tobler.
I'm not that old.
John Meeker would also be up there. Fake John Goebel said, that's when I knew Dwayne Wade was good. IMAC struggled to contain him. Yeah. That's usually a pretty good sign. Yeah, Meeker. I got that in there. Tucker. Got that in there. But it's Tobler. Especially now, Tobler is continuing to do work elevating the programs by building elite locker rooms, and then coming and sitting with me and Keegan and I and watching practice.
Sam Martin
was an all-time great. I mean, Sam Martin took over for Tobler, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So a strong legacy there. I keep wanting to get out of here, Keegan, but there's still 93 people in this room, and that makes me want to stay because I'm making money. What am I most excited for this season? Just going back to a Big 12 schedule, going back to a power conference schedule. Like, it was so awesome in that 6-7 year window to look down and see, like, all right, this week it's Syracuse, UConn, and Louisville or whatever. And looking at it for a couple weeks on end, we're like, all right, it's USF, UCF, Tulane, Tulsa, and ECU, and then Houston and Memphis. For some reason, they'd always put Houston and Memphis real close to each other. They couldn't break up the monotony of bullshit surrounding it. But I mean, that's the biggest thing for me by far is actually getting a chance to watch good basketball consistently through January, February, and March again. Record prediction now that we have the full schedule. Record prediction when we have waiver clarity. I am not touching that record prediction without having a better idea on the. Oh, you know the answer to this, Daniel. How big is the backlash going to be when we hit our first 3-game conference losing streak? Fire everybody. Everybody. Yeah. John Cunningham has to go. Neville Pinto.
Scott Satterfield to get blamed for it.
Scott Satterfield also should be fired because the basketball team is on a Kerry Combs. He has to be fired as well. Everybody. Fire.
Emery Jones.
Everybody. Greg Bruner, fire Greg Bruner. I'm just kidding. That was unnecessary. It was uncalled for, Greg. I'm sorry. Greg's my guy. Aaron Himmler, get him out of here. Bob Mangine, got to be fired. Fire everybody.
People will find
a way to play Mike. Fire Mike Denbrock. Still get rid of Mike Denbrock. Blame, yeah. I always love that too because the last those 20-21 years, they had like the second best offense and third best offense in school history, and everybody wanted to fire Mike Denbrock. And it was like the second best offense in school history. I'd like to keep that guy around. Also, I love Mike Denbrock, so he's one of my favorite people. Assuming health and waivers, Newman is going to be off their bench defense guy, not a starter. I wouldn't assume that. I think, new team. Newman's the guy that's been here since Wes got here in terms of the things that coach trusts and what he does well. So I would not assume that. I would actually think it's probably more likely that he is a starter than he's not a starter, at least early. The puppy's getting a little restless. As is the teenager. I think I got to put her out on her leash.
Okay.
The puppy. Kelsey, get in your crate. Who are my favorite coaches to watch AAU games with? Oh, boy. Danny Hurley, Mike Bray. Mike Bray is like literally my face hurts every time I've sat and watched games with Mike Bray. So there was this little group that we always used to hang out with on the road. It was Bobby Hurley, Danny Hurley, Kevin Willard would be there some. It's a guy that coached at Rutgers. Fred Hill, that used to coach at Rutgers, would be there. And Savino. And those things would hurt my face. Like you didn't watch anything. Like you didn't scout any of the game. Like there was no, but they had so many great stories dating back to, the 70s and the 80s, and it was good stuff. Can you talk for a second?
Me? Favorite coaches to watch AAU games with. I have not been in the business long enough to watch AAU games with coaches. And I don't have the confidence of Chad to just run up to them and introduce myself. But
are you saying I'm overly confident?
Yes.
Irrational confidence?
Yes.
That's fair.
I am.
That's fair. I'm not saying you're wrong.
What's
actually
good?
One of my favorites, and I haven't had a chance to sit and watch games with him in a while. I used to love watching games with Mike Pegues, who was he was an assistant at Xavier at the time, then was at Louisville with Chris Mack. I don't know where Pegues is now, but super fun dude. I used to love watching games with him. What's good, Natty Ron? We've been talking basketball for an hour and 21 minutes and 20 seconds.
24 seconds. Yeah, I don't know if you saw, but UC got a pretty good recruit. So
they did. They did. Any more questions, or are we going to get out of here? I got a really busy message board to go look back at. Here's a good one. Keegan, how different media accessibility here at UC is compared to IU?
It's completely different. As in, I have media access at Cincinnati, and I didn't have it at IU. I got to see some spring and fall football practice, but other than that, didn't really get anything. And Zach Stipe put it to me in a good kind of message. He said, if I was at IU, I wouldn't give you any media access because they don't have to. Because IU doesn't have to compete with anyone because no one is around them. The Colts aren't competing with IU and the Pacers aren't. But UC has to compete with Xavier, the Bengals, Reds, FC Cincinnati, everything. So media exposure is good for Cincinnati, and IU doesn't really need it at all. So it's not really worth it, especially because
there's also literally 1,000 people that cover IU.
That, and they are way more harsh on IU than the media landscape is at UC. Just like, Archie Miller will never step foot in Bloomington ever again. And when Tom Allen is inevitably gone, which is a shame because Tom Allen is a great man, he will probably never step foot in Indiana again. So yeah, it's a completely different atmosphere, but it's one that I love.
Doesn't hurt. You get to hang out with me too, right?
Yeah, you've been all right.
I've been all right. I've been an okay.
You haven't been an impediment to my success.
No, in fact, I usually help out. I know things. Surprise, surprise. I introduced you to Jim Kelly and Wes.
Yeah. Dan Horde, everyone. It's awesome.
Yeah, that you never thought you'd just be hanging out at practice with Dan Horde and Sauce like a month before you even started the job.
Yeah. Rocky Boyman, Lance McAllister, guys I've followed since I was 13.
All of a sudden, you're just standing there with them on the sideline.
Yep. Archie Miller doesn't need to come around Cincinnati either. They'll do a home and home with Rhode Island. Don't worry.
I don't. Archie's all right. Sean, I don't really care much for. Archie seems okay.
He's fine. There's a hilarious video of a post-game presser when they lost at Louisville, and it was after one of the players talked, and the player was like 6'8", and then Archie has to come in and pull the mic down from above his head to where he was talking. So the video makes it look like he's 4'1", and he's pissed because they just lost by like double digits. But oh my gosh, it's so funny.
All right, I think we've gone on. We're at 90 minutes here. Aaron wanted to do a 30-minute show, but you guys have hung around well beyond. Did everybody just take off at 3:00 today?
I guess.
Like, aren't you guys at work? It's Friday. Everybody just said, look, 2:30. Tyler Betsey's committing at 3. I'm calling it a day. We're gonna go hang out with the BCJ boys on YouTube. We appreciate it.
Yeah, AFTAB Pure Ball did a holiday for Tyler Betsey Commitment Day.
He did. It's Tyler Betsey afternoon in Cincinnati. But that's going to wrap it up. Thanks, Keegan. Appreciate you jumping on, helping us out. Thanks to Aaron.
You are welcome.
Thanks to everybody for being here. This was one of our bigger shows of late, so we greatly appreciate all of your support. That's going to be a nightcap. The live version on a Friday. We'll be back on Sunday. We're taking Saturday off. I think I'm going out tomorrow night to see my friend's band play. Thanks to Galactic Fried Chicken. This is the nightcap right here on BearcatJournal.com.